be sure to visit our sponsor at gocollect.com. Regie here, your friendly neighborhood bodybuilder and comic book collector, and I want to welcome you to another one of my videos. In this video, I'm going to spend some time talking about a subject that has been coming to my attention off and on for the last several months. And I haven't spoken about it up until this point, but I think I now want to try to address it because I've realized that I haven't quite paid as much attention to the topic maybe as I should have. And so I want to do this video with the attempt at fostering a dialogue to better understand the perspective that several people have regarding the future of the comic book market. And, you know, it's my fault that I haven't dug into this issue. It's my fault that I haven't asked people follow-up questions to better understand their points of view. But what I've tried to do over the last couple of days is to try to put myself in the shoes of these people that have brought this issue up. And honestly, I struggle with the issue, but I've tried to do it. And so my hope is, you know, if you share this point of view, or if you don't share this point of view, I'm hoping that we can kind of start a dialogue for the purpose of improving everyone's understanding of the topic that I'm about to raise, and to do so in a civil manner, right? We don't always have to agree, but that doesn't mean that we have to be disagreeable with one another, if you know what I mean. So the topic that I want to talk about is around the notion that people who buy comics for the sake of a cover are leading to the demise of the comic book industry. There have been several people over the last couple of months that have made this comment to me about people who buy covers, who buy comics for the sake of a cover, and how those people are contributing to the demise of the comic book market. And I don't quite understand it. I don't quite connect all of the dots. And again, it's my fault because I haven't asked follow-up questions to better understand the point of view. But I've tried to put myself in the shoes of these people that have this belief. And so what I would be doing in this video is kind of articulating what I think their argument might be, and then also kind of arguing, if you will, against myself as I do so. Because again, I don't necessarily see it the way that these people do. So if you see this point of view, don't be shy about sharing that perspective in the comment section, because again, I am trying to understand. Seeking to understand is what this is about, and it is not a criticism of those people that have this point of view, right? And I may use some satire and all that kind of stuff, but that's just for the sake of, you know, having some fun and having a not boring conversation, right? So the first thing that I thought about is those people that have said this. And the thing that I thought was that maybe they believe that those people who buy comics for the sake of a cover will contribute to a title for their beloved character going away. And here's what I mean by that. If there are people that are buying comics simply for the cover, then those people are not invested in that title. They are not invested in that character. They are not invested in the history that that character and that title represent. They are simply buying a piece of artwork, and they are buying it maybe for the purpose of speculation, maybe just because they really like that artist and that cover. They are not invested in that title, in other words. And so those people who are buying the comic because they absolutely love the comic could potentially see cover buyers as being detrimental. And I guess the thinking is that if a publisher sees a book doing really well, and then all of a sudden that book starts to not do well, so it's not moving as many units, then maybe the publisher will discontinue the title. And so if I am a lover of this title and I view cover buyers as artificially inflating unit sales, then I could see how that could be detrimental. Now, the truth of the matter is that the vast majority let me back up. We're not talking about titles and issues that are being printed in the millions. We are talking about titles and issues that are to some degree or another printed in the thousands, if you will, the upper thousands, right? I, for example, bought multiple copies of Amazing Spider-Man 800 and Amazing Spider-Man #1, the reboot, if you will. Bought multiple copies of both of them. And I think Amazing Spider-Man was 800 was like $9.99 or something like that. I bought multiple copies, right? Because I saw the artwork and I was like, that artwork is awesome. I am a fan of Spider-Man. I'm going to buy these titles. And I did. And Amazing Spider-Man 1 came along and I bought multiple copies of that as well. Amazing Spider-Man 800 sold 440,000 copies. ASM 1 sold 300,000 copies. We're not even talking millions. We're talking hundreds of thousands of copies. And ASM 800 and ASM 1 were two of the best-selling books in all of 2018. All of 2018. So I could see if we were talking about comics that were being sold in the millions and then all of a sudden the numbers were being cut down to 10, 20,000. I could see how someone could say cover buyers are somewhat detrimental, right? Because if they were artificially inflating the demand for the book to the tune of millions, I could see that. The best-selling comic in all of 2018 was Action Comics number 1000. And that sold 500,000 copies. 500,000 copies were sold. And I'm gonna venture a guess that the vast majority of people that actually bought those copies were maybe speculators. Maybe. My guess is that the vast majority of those people were people that actually like Superman, that actually like DC Comics, that were probably already buying Action Comics 1000 already and bought multiple copies of it. That's my guess. That's my guess. You know, when you start to, and let's contrast that, right? When you look at this thing from 2010 to 2018, publishers on average have printed 52 million comics per year. 52 million comics per year across all publishers on average from 2010 to 2018. Now that might seem like a lot, but when you contrast that to what was happening at one point in the 90s where they printed, I think it was like 48 million copies in a single month. 52 million in a year doesn't seem like a whole lot. So the question becomes, are cover buyers artificially inflating the demand for a book? I don't know. You know, honestly, as I've alluded to, I am a fan of Amazing Spider-Man. No one is surprised by that follows this channel. I bought multiple copies of Amazing Spider-Man 800 because I am a fan of Spider-Man. I will buy Spider-Man until Spider-Man goes away, which will never happen, which means I will always be buying Spider-Man. And I bought multiple copies because I wanted that piece of history. I wanted those individual covers. And so the question is, were the other buyers out there to the tune of 440,000 copies? Were those other people like me who already love Spider-Man? Or was there some kind of outside influence? Because that's almost the read that I get from people that believe that cover buyers are going to be detrimental to the market. It's almost like they're saying that there's an outside influence versus comic book collectors buying multiple copies, either because they actually love the title, want the cover, or are speculating themselves, right? That wasn't the case for me, but I could see an argument being made. What I don't think this is, I don't think that this is the 90s. I don't think that this is your average person walking in off the street buying Amazing Spider-Man 800 because they believe that they're going to be rich. The same way that it was done for Spawn back in the day and X-Men back in the day and pick an image title, right? I don't think that this is that. I think that you have people who honestly are invested in the covers. I'm sorry, they're invested in the characters and they buy the covers because they want the covers. Now, do I think that, Marvel needs to cut back on the number of variants that they're doing and the number of covers. Absolutely, right? You don't need 10, 20, 30 covers for a comic book. You don't need that. DC is doing a much better job, right? DC is doing a really good job with their A and B covers. I think that that's a great approach to it. So yes, Marvel probably needs to cut back. But I don't know if you can say that a cover buyer is detrimental to the comic market, because the comic cover buyer is the comic book community. They are the very people that are buying these books anyway. So I want to get back to something I mentioned earlier. When you look at the data, the vast majority of comic book issues that are actually sold are selling somewhere between 10,000 and 25,000 copies over the course of a year. In 2018, only 11 issues managed to sell more than 200,000 copies in the year. Only 11 issues. And you're talking about hundreds of issues that are printed. So even if people are buying multiple covers, it's not necessarily to the tune of millions. So I don't necessarily see the artificial inflation of sales that would result in a publisher discontinuing the title because of a decline in sales. So I struggle. I struggle with the argument that people who buy covers will lead to the demise of the comic book market. But I continue to kind of think about this thing, and I kind of said, okay, well, maybe what they're worried about is that publishers will go out of business. Maybe publishers will go out of business because the publishers are investing too much money in multiple covers. That was maybe a thought that I had, that these people may kind of be pointing to, right? This is how the market will end. It will end because publishers are investing too much money in the printing and the creation of multiple covers. But then I thought about that. And then what I realized is that the vast majority, right? And I don't have numbers on this one, so bear with me, but the vast majority of really expensive, fancy covers from your Del Autos and your Matinas and all of these guys that are really well known for these amazing covers, so many of them are doing the covers not for Marvel and DC. They are doing the covers for stores. These are store exclusives that they're doing this artwork for, where you're seeing these 1 in 500s and 1 in 1,000 covers that are selling for crazy amounts of money. These are actually store exclusives. So again, if someone's going to suffer as a result of cover buys, I don't know that it will be Marvel or DC or, IDW or Image. It's probably going to be the online retailers, the brick and mortar stores who decide to do exclusive variants for their shops. And at one point, I thought the number that they had to purchase was around 4,500 copies to do an exclusive cover. I think that number, based upon something I heard recently, is more like 3,000. But 3,000 is a lot. 3,000 copies of a comic is a lot. I don't know all the math behind it, but I'm guessing you have to pay the artist a healthy amount to do it. And then you have to buy the copies, you have to have the copies printed and all that kind of stuff. And then you have probably a ton of waste that comes along with those copies, right? Because not every copy that is printed and sent to you is going to be undamaged. So there's going to be some waste that's associated with that. But I think what's important to remember here is that it's not Marvel and DC and Image and Top Cow and IDW that are printing these crazy numbers of fantastic covers. It's stores, online retailers that are actually doing that. So again, I kind of struggle with the argument that cover buyers are detrimental to the comic book market. But again, this is not me saying that these people are wrong. This is me saying I don't understand the perspective. And my hope, again, is if you are listening to this and you understand this perspective, that you can leave a comment to maybe help me to better appreciate the argument, because I haven't yet dug into the issue enough. And again, that is my fault. So we'll see what people think. We'll see what the comments look like on this particular video. I'm hopeful that we can have a little bit of a dialogue and a discussion to maybe better understand where folks are coming from, because maybe there is something there that I'm not fully appreciating. As always, I want to thank you guys for taking the time to watch this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. I look forward to reading your comments. And if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, I highly encourage you to do so that you can stay abreast of all the content that I release on a weekly basis. If you plan to get a CGC membership, click the affiliate link in the description box. And if you haven't signed up for eBay so you can save a little money on the comics that you're already going to buy via eBay, I definitely encourage you to click the eBates link in the description as well. Take care. Be sure to visit BCW Supplies to learn about their 950 plus products for collectors. Products include card sleeves, display cases, comic bags, storage boxes, and gaming folders, just to name a few items. Head over to bcwsupplies.com today for more information.